Welcome back. We did it.
We did it.
We
We
did
tried
it.
to tell everybody last week that we were going to do it. People didn't believe us.
They didn't believe us.
They
We
didn't
put
believe us.
22 deuce deuce on the
It was a
docket.
magical week. It was a magical week for the boys. Without further ado, just an electric week. I think I went from down 6 units to down 1.5 units.
Yeah.
Frankie went from down 3.5 to up 3.5.
Yep.
An impressive 11.5 point swing for the boys combined.
It was awesome. Awesome. It was
Um,
one of those
insane.
you're shooting into the ocean from the beach.
Yeah,
Like I just everything was going in. And it started like even my off pod plays,
yeah.
like everything I was playing, like I woke up Saturday morning, like after lines moved a little bit more, and I'm just like, okay, well, I like that number now. And it's just like the noon slate at my house, I went undefeated in the noon
Yeah.
slate.
You almost went undefeated on pod. I mean, I'm going to run through these picks real quick. You were as hot as could be. You had Navy over 27.5 winner, Navy minus 13.5 winner. Toledo minus 18.5 was your only loser.
They
Toledo
didn't deserve to cover, by the way.
doesn't matter. Toledo over 34.5 winner. ECU minus 2.5 winner. Texas State was a huge winner at +1. And then the Kentucky under 42. You went, like I said, huge swing. You went up 7 units last week. I
Yeah.
had Iowa minus 2.5, which is good basically the whole game until they decided to quit playing. Tennessee, regardless what the number had, you won.
Yeah.
Nebraska money line, Oregon minus 13. Oregon's something not right with them. Texas money line with the under 51.5, easy winner. Ohio over 56.5. We got some second half scoring, couldn't get there all the way. Q's +3 winner. And then
Good
my
pick.
mortal lock, bet your house, guarantee. It was never a sweat. I had people text me all week, Yinzer, thank you. My child can go to college. Yinzer, thank you.
Yeah.
Me and my wife are back together. Clemson, Utah, Tennessee money line. Was it chalky? Yes. Was it hacky? Yes.
Yeah.
Were people saying, "Oh, you can't put together three"? I don't care. Did it cash at the end of the week? Did it cash tickets? Absolutely. It ended up at being around minus 138, but it brought me back from the brink, minus 6 units down to minus 1.5. I'm going to be black before you know it. There we go.
Okay. There we
There we go.
go. There we go.
I'm feeling good. This week, I know we're not going to get into the picks just yet. We're doing this on a Wednesday, so the lines just came out. We haven't had full analysis, so I think I'm going to be a little more cautious this week. I don't think I'm going to be quite spraying the board like Tony Montana this week, but I did find a few things I like. So I don't know
Well,
if we're going to be quite spraying.
that's what I wanted to get into after we did our little victory lap is the
Yeah,
fact that the board this week, Yenzer said it while we were talking before this, the best night to just flat out watch football might be Thursday night
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because
It
it's
might
Texas
be.
State, it's my Texas State Bobcats
Yeah,
and Arizona State, it's Kansas and UNLV, and then Friday night you got K-State and Arizona, which is awesome. And then you got a little in-state P5 G5 Cincy versus Miami of Ohio. So it's like there's a lot of fun games going on in the midweek.
and Buffalo Dolphins too. Thursday night football.
My Dolphins,
Your Dolphins.
my 1-0 Miami Dolphins.
Tyreek Hill.
That would I will can I say something?
Sure.
Probably the only time he's been arrested where he didn't do anything.
Probably. Well, I mean, he was going like 60 in a construction zone, but whatever. Detained might be the right word.
Detained was probably the right word, but
Yeah.
he's just trying to get to the game.
He's just trying to get to the game, just trying to ball out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am
Tyreek.
yeah.
Tyreek said
Yeah.
he was like,
I gotta stop. I gotta stop. I gotta stop. Because the guy who arrested him was Cuban. And if you know anything about Miami Cubans, we gotta stop there. We gotta stop there.
we'd hate to eliminate, one sixth of your dating pool on this pod. So,
I love
um,
the Cuban community.
pause. All I'm gonna say is this might be the last Saturday for a couple weeks where it might be a good brunch Saturday. This might be a good Saturday to go do a little fall shopping, hit
Is
that
this
Target.
apple picking?
Oh, I don't know if we're quite an apple picking yet, but this is definitely the Saturday you want to bank for like October 12th. This is
Okay.
definitely the Saturday you want to bank for down the road. Not a ton of great games, not a ton of ranked games. We'll get into the slate a little bit later, but there's still some opportunities to make money. There's still some opportunities for some good games.
Yeah.
The early slate is a lot better than the late slate. After the brawl, this thing falls off a cliff. The backyard brawl is the premier game of the week.
Best game of the week. I don't
Yeah,
and the only reason it didn't get game day is because of the here I'm going to sound like a far right boomer, but like the only reason it didn't get game day is because of the SEC bias and their association with ESPN.
That and we got curb stomped. So if week one, that too, a
But
little
it's
bit.
the best. But it's like a rivalry game. It's the best rivalry game. The game. And don't get me wrong, I love South Carolina.
Yeah,
I love South Carolina.
go Cox.
But the fact that they're hosting against LSU on a noon kick,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
it's we're gonna talk about the game. We're gonna talk about the game. But like I said, we'll talk about the game. The slate after 3 o'clock. You take your girl out to dinner, do something other after because that it's terrible. After 3:30, there's nothing to do. So
The
figure
best
something out.
there's a couple like rivalry games. Like you have Colorado State,
Yeah,
Rice Houston. Both those are Houston teams.
we
Uh,
like that.
would you consider Virginia Maryland a rivalry? Like, is that a rivalry to them?
I mean, that'll be a fun game. I
Yeah,
mean, they'll
sure.
be throwing it all
Oh,
over
here
the
we go.
yard.
This is actually a real rivalry. 100 Miles of Hate, West of Kentucky and Middle Tennessee. That might actually be fun to watch. That's a 7 o'clock kick.
We got the Apple Cup
But
rivalry.
technically, we do have the Apple Cup.
We
I
have the
love how
Apple
we're
Cup.
talking about all these rivalry games, and we're like, man, this kind of stinks. Like Old Dominion and Vautech are playing with each other.
Yep,
Pause.
not a big
uh,
deal.
I don't know. FIU, FAU, the Shula Bowl. There's rivalry games all over, and we're like, this slate stinks.
It's just it's not we're not we got spoiled the first 2 weeks. We got spoiled the first 2 weeks, but
Well, we're gonna get spoiled now with conference realignment, where
you know,
during conference play, every week is gonna be like helmet games.
yeah,
It's just gonna be like
we're gonna get some
iconic
good
program.
games.
What shirt are you wearing? What is that? What is that? Did Nike make that, or is that like a Etsy print?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
It's a knife.
Tyreek Hill made it for me.
Is he a Nike athlete?
Caught his kid in the kitchen past bedtime.
All right, and we're moving on to the next segment where uh I every now and again I get an idea that is actually okay. And this idea I would like to pose to Yenzer, where
Okay.
we're going to ask each other three questions.
Okay.
Now, using all the comedic knowledge I know,
Mhm.
uh serious funny is a common comedic technique. I did
Okay.
this. I also did this, and laughter ensues. So Yenzer and I are going to ask each other two football questions, and then we're
Okay.
going to ask each other one random question, which could probably lead into some sort of hijinks.
Okay.
The first question I have for you, Yenzer,
Let's hear it.
after we watched a couple weeks of football, and after we watched a couple weeks of Penn State football,
Yep.
and we've also watched Kansas football.
Mhm.
Do we think that the reason Kansas was successful is because of Kotelnicki, who is the offensive coordinator now at Penn State, or is it Lance Leipold's program building? Is it just Jalen Daniels? Like, do you think it was all that? Because Kansas has not looked great these first 2 weeks of the season.
Combination. That's actually going to lead to a pick of mine. So combination. It's a good question. We lead into that. I think it's a combination of everything. It's the new talent. Definitely, Kansas definitely didn't have the athletes before. So you can have the scheme, but if you don't have the athletes, it's not going to matter. We saw that with Coastal, where they brought in that new offense, they brought in all that stuff, but eventually everybody caught up. So you can have, throw it around the yard, you can have this mesh, you can run all this stuff, but you don't have the guys to run it. It's slowly going to run out. Now, is Kansas missing them this year? Yeah, definitely. I think even last week with Kansas, it was more of turnovers. They looked really sloppy in the second half of that game. That kind of gave it away.
True.
I'm looking towards not to quite give a hit away. I think Kansas bounces back this week. So if you're asking me, do they completely miss them versus not having Leopold? I think they're going to bounce back.
I
I think
also
Kansas gets
like
back on.
Kansas. I also kind of like Kansas, but UNLV is a sleeper to make the playoff, guys.
UNLV is definitely one of those teams that's outside of your power four. It's going to be, I feel like every year it's going to change. I think Kansas gets back on the horse.
Over could
But
be a play here. It's 57.
to answer your question, I think it's more of Penn State finally got an infusion of an offense that's not out of the 1970s. So I
Right.
think anything would have been an infusion. And I think it's just giving something for Drew Aller that's a little more simple.
Yeah.
I think that's really the biggest thing for him is he just looked completely lost last year. It was
Yeah.
almost to the point where he was just almost looked like he was completely stunned. So I think it's giving him a few more options.
Yeah. I
I
actually
think
don't hate Drew Allen at all. I think he's kind of fun.
he's toolsy. He's definitely
He's
toolsy.
toolsy. I like the fact that Kotelnicki schemed things up for him to be able to hit their awesome tight end.
Yeah.
Like any when in doubt, it's just like, hey, go find the sticks and sit, and then hit him right in the chest. Like
And
that's
Penn State's got a great tight end, and they also got two great running backs. So it is kind
yeah,
of
that's
just, I
true.
mean, if you're really overthinking it, is Penn State's offense really just get it to your best playmakers, scheme up some misdirection, and just kind
Mm.
of let your athletes win? Yeah, it's great. I don't think Penn State's going to do anything against Ohio State. I don't think that scheme's going to be able to overpower that offense. But then again, if you were to take the same offense and let's say go to Michigan, it's not going to work. So you do need a combination of the athletes. You do need a combination. But again, all this window dressing is not going to work unless you got the tools. Penn State
Yeah.
has the guys. They didn't have the scheme. So I think it's a good marriage of the two. But again, I think Kansas gets back on the horse this week. So we'll see if it was after this week. If Kansas has something right, maybe we'll revisit that question though. So
Okay.
good cue, good cue.
Thank you.
Here is mine for you, and this is kind of I'm gonna kind of frame the question with, I don't want it to be so generic. Biggest surprise of the year, but I don't want you to just give me like, oh, Notre Dame lost.
Yeah.
I want you to think of it. Is it a player? Is it a rule change? I want you to think of what has changed your biggest narrative going into this year. Was it a team that you thought was going to be good that wasn't? Was it an over that you thought was coming in? As far as on your radar for you, 2 weeks in, what do you think has changed the most for you? Did you think the 2 minute warning was going to be a bigger deal? Did you think the player comms was going to be a bigger deal? Or did you think a team or a system was going to be a bigger deal and it's been either a letdown or a surprise for you?
I feel like as far as my team totals go, they're all pretty much like what I thought they were gonna be. As far as like big changes, I'm not really seeing anything with the rules thing. I don't think that the helmet. It's like earlier in the season we were like, oh, they're cutting down on turnovers, and then we saw last week it's like, oh, okay, no, people are still in college. I don't think that it's cut down on that. I don't think the 2 minute warning is an issue. You are seeing teams kind of like NFL scheme it up a little bit, especially like after you get to that 2 minute, like this thing could be over. Like if you have the ball after the 2 minute, you just get
Tennessee.
one first down, it's over.
Tennessee did a really
Uh,
good job of that last week.
what's that?
Tennessee did a good job of that last week. You could tell they were playing around with that 2 minute. New England was the king of doing that. New England always used to want to get the ball with 2 minutes left to score and get it back in the second half. You're seeing a lot of college teams start doing that.
Yeah, that's a really good point where now there is an emphasis on the quote unquote middle eight.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get the double up,
Yeah.
buddy, which is what killed West Virginia against Penn State.
It's if you, I mean, not to change sports, but if you watch the Jets Niners game, the game completely flipped on the last 6 minutes of the first half.
Mm-hmm.
That game completely flipped. I mean, I think San Francisco had the ball for something like 26 minutes straight of game time. So,
But to because I want to narrow it down to a team that's really surprised me.
yeah.
I had Oregon to go to the playoff.
Mm,
Things do not look fantastic in Eugene.
yeah.
I'm equating it to it's early. Now
Yeah.
we've all known that Dylan Gabriel's like a fine college quarterback. I wasn't expecting him to be excellent, and I still don't expect him to be excellent. Um, Dan Lanning losing control in Eugene? Question mark.
Okay. See, that was, and I was backing them. I thought last week that was one of my picks. I thought Oregon was going to right the ship. I thought that after last week they were talking about Oregon struggling. I thought they were going to blow the doors off Boise. So I'm
No,
there with you. I'm completely there with you.
dude. Boise's running game.
Yeah, he's insane. That kid's a stud.
Yeah.
They paid him a lot of money to stick around too, so that makes sense. That's a wise investment.
Trying to see if we have any stats that really stick out in my mind. I'm looking at like Oregon's matchup here against Oregon State. If anything sticks down in my mind, really, really bad third down conversions. Okay, that's not good. Uh, these are all like really analytic heavy, and they all have stupid acronyms that I can't. There's no like guide. All right, let's move on. The next
Yeah.
question for you. There's been a new saying in modern football, and you having uh sorry, I thought someone was screaming outside my window.
New York.
There's been insane amount of football, and because you said the sport you played growing up was basketball, you're mainly a basketball guy. I've heard this saying lately, and I'm curious if you have any thoughts about any thoughts about it. Um, Football now is basketball on grass. Do you see any basketball on grass sort of schemes?
I mean, it's always been the case of ever since I feel like every year, every couple years, everything is kind of circles back. So you had West Virginia did the spread option a couple years back, and then you had okay teams adapted to that. Teams are going to spread it out. You had LSU with Burrow, teams spread it out, and then you had last year Michigan said no, we're going to bring it back in
Yeah,
and
and
we're going to run the
Georgia
ball. So
said bring it back in.
Georgia said so. Everything is cyclical where it's like, hey, where are the athletes at? What can you get? So I mean, yeah, it makes sense. I think it's always going to be the smaller schools that can't get linemen are going to kind of spread it out. The bigger schools that can get the big, fast studs that can get those dudes that can block are going to want to always try to get it because it's safer. It's more traditional. It kind of cuts down on those risks. So, I mean, you always see like the smaller the school level, and there are also only so many guys in the world that can throw a football well enough to run those type of offenses. So it's the kind of the same thing in every sport. You're looking for, not everyone can have a dominant pitcher. Not everyone can have a dominant point guard. Not everyone can have a dominant quarterback. So what can you do around the edges? Find it. Well, you can always find guys that are fast. You
Hmm.
can always find it's same thing in soccer. You can always find guys that can run fast, but you can't always find guys that can score. But you can always find guys that can run fast. You can always find guys that can play defense. So
Yeah,
usually you can find teams that are in the World Cup. You're like you can find teams that can defend and kind of park the bus and do that. So I think you'll kind of see teams that will run those up tempo offenses. It's just a matter of what happens whenever you face those teams that are so physical, so fast that they can send three down linemen and get in your backfield.
hmm.
How are you going to counter that?
They were
So
talking a lot about how, and I hate to keep weaving it back to West Virginia football, but that's where we went and that's who we support.
yeah,
They were talking a lot last year about how West Virginia football is kind of like uh dunk or three pointer,
yeah,
where it's like read with Garrett, or Jaheim or whatever, and then just hammer it deep.
yeah.
Like that sort of basketball offense where it's just the most efficient thing. Oh, it's inefficient to throw, over the middle of the field like for like 7 yards. It's inefficient to do that.
But you see, what happens is, yeah, it's great. You can kind of everybody always wants the inefficiency is the running quarterback because you get an extra player. It takes away, gives you an extra player on offense.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what happens is whenever you are facing a defense that is as fast as your quarterback or as strong as your tight ends, well, that kind of shrinks. And then you're asking your quarterback, no, you do have to kind of stay in the pocket and make those throws, or you do have to kind of make throws all over the field.
Yeah.
That kind of field shrinks and, that kind of goes away. So at a certain point, that's why every year we kind of do see the same 10, 11 teams that are in it because there's really only 10 or 11 guys in the world that can make those throws. So
I like that.
I think that's where but that is where you do see those kind of teams that do make runs in the playoff. Those every year, you get a cycle of guys, but that is why, especially Tennessee. But we're also seeing Tennessee's making that run with a generational quarterback, and also Tennessee's defense is disgusting. So
Right.
Tennessee's always had the linemen. They've just never had the quarterback to kind of put it together. But we'll see.
I like
Um,
it. All right. Question for you. I mean, your question, Tom.
All right. Out of you can pull up the top 15 teams. I want you to look at these teams. Tell me which one of these teams you can go top 5, top 10. Which one of these teams is a fraud? Which one of these teams are going to crash out?
All right.
Frankie Dime says fraud watch. Which one of these teams in the top 5, top 7 is not going to be there? I'm going to say in the next 3 weeks.
Top five, top seven.
Yeah. Which team does not belong here?
I'd hate to keep hammering uh Oregon. They're
You think
9.
Oregon's full fraud watch?
No, not right now. Not right now. I think it's just early, too early to tell. You said top 15?
I'll say top 15. If they're top 15, that means they don't finish in the top 25.
Oh, they don't finish in the top 25. You know what's crazy? If you look at these same three teams, they're all in concert with each other, like bang, 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 back to back to
Yeah.
back, and they all three could make a case that they don't look as good as we thought they were going to be.
Yeah.
And it's Utah, Oklahoma State, and Kansas State. Those kind of same three teams kind of have the similar vibe. Now,
Mm-hmm.
the team I'm going to pick out of this is Oklahoma State.
They've looked like they've been on fraud watch 2 weeks in a row.
Exactly.
No.
And not only that, listen, Bowman, Alan Bowman. I got to tell you, bud, there is an adjustment to post grad life, and it's not easy, and you might get depressed. But then after you stick with it a couple years, you start to realize like regular adult life, pretty fun. It can be pretty fun. You have money to do the things that you want to do. I'm sure you're already getting paid by T Boone Pickens death fund, whatever they call it.
Rip T Boone, Rip T Boone.
Um, get a job, buddy. I mean, you're a seventh year senior and you're playing mediocre. I don't know what else to tell you.
Shout out Oklahoma State. What real quick, first coach fired, and then we'll move on to your other questions.
Oh my God. Um, people. Oh, that's great. They ranked Northern Illinois 25. Good for them.
Did they really?
Yeah,
Yeah, they sure did.
that's good for them. First coach fired. I want to look at the teams on the top 25 and see if any of them are worthy of being fired, but they're not going to fire Brian Kelly right yet, but
No.
the seat's getting a little warm.
Yeah.
Um, if South Carolina crashes out,
Mm-hmm.
say Shane Beamer. Um, here's one that I think might be off the wall a little bit. Gus Malzahn.
Okay. No,
Um,
the obvious one, the chalk one's got to be Napier, right?
yeah, Billy Napier. That's why I didn't go that one.
Yeah.
I was trying to pick names that, you
Yeah.
know, Shane Beamer is kind of perpetually on the hot seat for the past like
Mhm.
2 years, but I think that Gus Malzahn experiment with KJ Jefferson, like him throwing like all his eggs into the KJ Jefferson basket, is
Yep.
not working the way people thought it was going to. And that's multiple years in a row where it's like, hey, we got transfer QB who's gonna like save us. John Reese Plumlee was mediocre. KJ Jefferson looks worse than mediocre. I was listening to a podcast today and they said a stat about they're talking about upcoming games and they were like, yeah, UCF's interesting because they've only thrown the ball like 29 times or 39 times. Like that's not faith in your quarterback at
No,
all.
no, that's not great.
So I got Gus Malzahn on the heater.
I like that. I like that. All right.
Let's look at UCF's schedule real quick. I just
They
want to
got
look
they
at
got TCU. They got TCU, I think, on Friday.
well, TCU doesn't look fantastic. It's so funny we're talking about Gus Malzahn being on the heater and they're 2-0, but
I
they
think
haven't
TCU,
played.
I think that's a
They play.
pick 'em game. That's a pick 'em or like that's a close game. I know it's a sub field goal game.
Listen, I have a take.
Let me give it to me.
The anxiety bowl of the season. UCF loses at TCU, and then they play Coach Prime next week, and
Ooh.
they don't stop anything. They don't stop it. They lose. They lose. It's UCF versus Florida in like week 5. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
They just both ADs are on the field. It's like an old wrestling match. It's like loser just gets fired. Both ADs are just on the field,
Yeah,
just ready to write it.
just ready to make that call.
Actually, I kind of like that.
All right, that was my pick. Came up with
All
that
right.
out of the back of my head, and you know what? That wasn't terrible. What's Gus? See, okay, that's a public institution. We might be able to look this up. Gus Malzahn. Because people want Pat Narduzzi fired at Pitt, and he's got a $40 million buyout, and it's like, well, buddy,
Yeah, no,
you're
dude. They
not.
just fired. They just fired Pitt's AD though. So I
I
mean, just
know.
fired Pitt's AD.
Here we go. Extension raise 5.5 million per year in 2026 and 2027. So he just got a new deal in late 23. So I guess they're not going to fire him. That was a dumb pick by me.
You know what? We appreciate you pulling from the hip.
They're not playing great.
Oh shit! All right, you want to get some picks? Or you got another thing for me?
Yeah, I got the funny question for you.
Give it to me, baby.
What TV dad do you see yourself as?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because I already know I've been watching a lot of this show lately, and I already know who I'm picking for you.
TV dad. Shit, man, that's a good question. I would say Al Bundy.
Dude, you know what's funny?
What's that?
You want to know what's funny? I had you as Jay Pritchard on Modern Family, and
Okay, okay.
That's Ed O'Neill also.
That dude pulls. That dude pulls.
So
I'll take it. I'll take a
you
combination of the two.
you said you're Ed O'Neill in the other show, and I said you're Ed O'Neill, and
I'll take it.
dude, you're Ed O'Neill.
I'll take it. Honestly, I'll take it. Dude's a stud. Dude's a
If you
stud.
if you're Ed O'Neill, that makes me Ty Burrell, which is the other dad on Modern.
Pulling Julie Bowen. Not bad. Could be
Yeah.
worse.
Which
Could be worse.
in real life, Inverse.
Mm-hmm.
In real life, we'd wife swap.
We do that
Uh,
trade. A
yeah,
trade has been announced.
ladies and gentlemen, uh, the
In,
white delegation.
in real life, oh my god, dude. Oh, actually, see, you went with a good question. I went for a more insightful question because this
You
is
went
something
for like
I've actually
life advice. What life
not
advice have
life.
you given to
This
a
is just
22
something.
year old?
This is something I've always wanted to ask you. So, all
Oh my
right, you're
God.
okay. You're about to go up and do a set. The
Yeah.
person before you, are you
Bombs.
secretly hoping they fucking
No,
bomb?
no, no,
You
no,
want them
no,
to
no.
kill so you go up there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me ask you this. So you're hoping they go. You're hoping they do well. You're hoping they go well.
Yeah.
Are you sure you're not like secretly hoping they bomb so the bar's not lowered for you?
No, because so here's the deal. It's like the energy in the room.
You want it up.
Like if they just absolutely say something that like sucks the life out of the room, or they say something so controversial or so edgy, and it just like stinks, and then you're like, so this one time I'm like I'm trying to talk to my and like the only thing you can do is like maybe the comic is not in the room and you just address like you try to ride right off of that, and
Yeah.
it's like he says something crazy and you're like you jokingly say like, all right, well, what do you guys think about this, like, and like you jokingly say like a bigger hot button issue, and like
Okay.
that kind of you have to like if they do so poorly, they were like you have to kind of address it in a sense.
Not me. I'm a hater. I don't want everybody to fail because I'd be like, that guy fucking sucked. I would
Hate,
just, I
hate,
would just
hate,
be like,
hate.
I'd bury that dude. I'd be the guy at the club nobody liked because I'd be like the Undertaker. I would just come up there. I'd be like, well, I'd be just bury that guy. I'd get the crowd on my side. I'd be like, what a fucking loser.
I can't wait till we can do live pods one day.
It'd be the best. I would turn on you in a heartbeat. I'd do like a double turn. I
Wow.
would turn on you mid show.
Heel turn. I'm
Huge heel
I'm
turn.
supposed to be Kane. I'm supposed to be your brother, and you just
Yeah.
put me in the casket match.
Yeah, like I would turn on you mid show. It would be great. People would just be like, oh God, Yenzi turned on and you son of a bitch. At every show. Every show. Frankie come out and be like the huge face, and I would just do a straight turn on you every
Straight
time.
heel. You're heel. You're I'm babyface. You're heel.
Yeah, people would love it.
And then I become like the anti like
Yeah.
you know what I
You
mean,
would you would come
anti-hero.
out every show expecting you'd be like, I'm the good guy. Why is everybody booing me? They'd be like, boo, Yinzer, say something controversial. And I would. And you'd be like, Frankie, your bleep button wouldn't work in real time, and it'd be great. You'd be hitting
I
your
haven't
little bleep button.
I haven't had to bleep you this season. You've been good.
I feel like I've settled down this year.
Yeah,
I feel
we've
like
sent you. Well, the classes helped and the therapy helped.
the therapies helped, the classes have helped. I've joined some nice chat rooms where I can just shout it out into the void, which is nice, helpful for all parties.
Uh, I'm just gonna ask a question real quick.
To hear it.
These chat rooms.
Yeah. They're
Uh,
monitored. They're monitored heavily, I'm sure.
are you on 4chan?
No.
No. Okay.
Nah. No. Sorry.
Let's get into the picks for the week. We have 10 minutes left before we run out of our subscription service here.
Great service. All right. I'm gonna let you go first because you absolutely destroyed last week, dude.
Okay. I'll take the T. Thank you very much.
Do it, my friend.
Uh such as last week, we're gonna ride with the pick that we or with a team that we've believed in since the dawn of time. And we have them, potentially to make the playoff, and we believe in them wholeheartedly.
Do you believe?
Do you believe? We have Texas State +2 on Thursday night against Arizona State.
You've been riding them.
Pause on that. We believe in Texas State football. They can score on literally anybody. Now, I will say this. I am impressed with Kenny Dillingham, and I am impressed with the fact that Arizona State did beat a Mississippi State team that is an SEC team and is coached by Jeff Lebby, as much of a scumbag as he is. Um, Here's the deal, though. Arizona State, do you know how many passing yards they got last week?
I do not.
69.
Great number. Not a great yardage.
69. 69, and they won. And they
Who they
won.
play?
Mississippi State.
Oh shit! Oh,
They
God.
ran the ball for over 300 yards. So, stop the run, Texas State, and you win.
Should be a pretty easy game.
They can't throw. The quarterback for Arizona State was 10 of 20 with 69 yards, and they only scored 3 points in the second half. So it took halftime adjustments, as fake as they may be. They figured it out.
Figured it
That's my
out.
first pick. Texas State +2 at home.
All right. I'm keeping with the rivalries. I'm going Washington, the Apple Cup.
Okay.
-4.5. And I like this one. I just think Washington's a better team. Washington is usually just the better team. It seems like they run on them every single year. Very conservative in the passing game. I think the last game he was 21 for 29 was Rodgers. So it just seems like they haven't blown anybody out. They had last week off just to kind of prep for this. Washington State, I don't think they're going to put up much of a fight. I think they might win by close to double digits. I was kind of shocked that this was below 10. Rivalry game at home. Give me the Washington Huskies at 4.5, 1 unit play.
Okay. Okay.
Super simple.
Yeah, my Texas State was 1 unit also.
Yep.
I got a couple here. How many do you have?
I'd have just 4 this week.
Okay.
Just 4.
I think I might have 5.
That's fine. That's fine.
So next one is Texas A&M -3 at Florida. I know Texas A&M lost to Notre Dame, and people are going to hang up on that. We need to understand this. Florida is just not good at football right now. And it's as simple as that.
New quarterback with Florida.
Okay, well, what they need to understand with the new quarterback is that he's more interception prone than the last one.
What's crazy is this new quarterback, I think, actually decommitted from A&M and went to Florida.
Got a little bit of an edge there.
Pretty sure. That's don't check my 24/7, but I'm pretty sure that's the scuttlebutt on this kid.
Texas A&M -3.
Okay, 1 unit.
1 unit.
I'm going to this one. I don't know if you'll play it or not. We haven't really talked about it, but homer pick. West Virginia -2, 1 unit.
I'm also on West Virginia -2. Make that 2 units for me. That's a certified syndicate lock.
Syndicate lock. Has West Virginia looked great? No.
No.
Has Pitt introduced a new offense that is up tempo and throws the ball over a yard against a West Virginia defense that is ranked, I believe, 113th out of 133 eligible teams? Yes.
Yes.
Have we added an entire new secondary? Yes. Are we on the road? Yes. Have we shown any ability that we should be favored on the road? No.
No.
Are we going to put 3 units on them?
Yes.
Go Mountaineers. 3 units on the pod. Enough said.
So I bet on Pitt football last week, and they had an incredible comeback.
Yeah, scored like 4 touchdowns in 6 minutes or something.
It was incredible, and so I watched a lot of Pitt football. Quarterback is chaotic, and
former Alabama kid.
Yeah, and I always like that in college quarterbacks, the ability to like run around and make plays and stuff like that. He's a freshman. This is a big game environment. Hopefully they cause some chaos. Here's an interesting stat.
Give it to me. I need something to hang on to.
Last week, when West Virginia played UAlbany, they only gave up points after the defensive coordinator got rushed into the locker room because he broke his face because someone ran into him during a play. And as soon as he came back, they gave up 0 points.
They did. The second, I actually watched that game. They look better. It's Albany. I know. It's Albany.
Top 15 FCS.
Top 15 FCS. If West Virginia is a real team and if Neil Brown wants to have a job next year, they'll come out there, they'll win this game. Their season's on the line. This game matters more for West Virginia. They should hopefully
I'll say this. If West Virginia goes 5-7, Neil still has a job next year.
Oh, we'll see about that. I'll do a gentleman's bet off air with you with that one. If they don't make a bowl game, he doesn't have a job.
Okay. Well,
I'm
not to treat Neil with kid gloves, but West Virginia is not an easy job.
No. You better win a bowl game in year 4, whatever reason.
I get it.
With a new AD that didn't hire him.
I gave a pick on piggybacking your pick, so you give the next one.
All right. I'm gonna do a money line parlay. It's just a get back on the wagon.
Okay.
Kansas, Notre Dame money line parlay, 1 unit. Kansas is gonna get back on the horse. They're not gonna have another turnover per game. Illinois was always going to be a tough game. That line was always kind of stinky at 5. Kansas, I think, gets back. Daniels had 3 picks. I think this is Kansas at home. Rights the horse against. I know we talked about Nevada stuff, but I think Kansas. Yeah, UNLV. Sorry. I always fucking do that. Kansas, money line. Notre Dame against Purdue. Purdue has played nobody. And so we don't really know how good Purdue is. I'm not expecting Purdue to put a huge fight. I don't think Notre Dame loses 2 games in a row. I don't care who they're playing, especially not Purdue. Sorry, M. But 1 unit play, you can get that around like minus 118. So if you want to put 1.2 units on it, don't shame me. But give me that for 1 unit, Kansas, Notre Dame. I like that a lot.
We don't unit shame here.
Don't unit shame here.
We don't unit shame. Okay. I have. What do you know? I got two more.
Give them to me. Give me one, and then I'll do my next one. We'll end it.
Okay. I got ECU +3 at home against App State.
Have you had them every week?
No.
No.
Last 2 weeks.
Last 2 weeks.
Yeah, Texas State and ECU, we've had them the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
Again, we also have like their team totals, and we have them to win their divisions and all that. Whatever. We just believe in these guys,
We believe it.
and they had a good scrappy win last week at Old Dominion.
Yep.
ECU did, and now we get to chill at the house at Dowdy Ficken Stadium, and take on an App State team that's coming off getting boat raced by Clemson.
All right. I'm ready. I'm giving my only 2 unit play of the weekend or the week for this weekend.
What do you got?
And I'm just going to ask you this. I'm going to frame this question. Last week, I was a cornered animal, and we talked about there's nothing more dangerous than a cornered animal.
Okay.
And this team is a cornered animal. They got embarrassed. And I'm going to ask you, are you going to get up this week? Are you going to get off the mat? Are you going to come out and play? Because if you're going to come out and respect yourself, if you're going to do anything, 2 unit play, University, defending champs, Michigan, minus 13.5 first half.
Okay.
Let's get out there and win the first half by 2 touchdowns. I don't care what you do in the second half. Can you do anything? Can you do anything? Go in the first half by 2 touchdowns. They should go out there and blow the doors off. I don't care. I don't think they're going to allow a score in the first half. I think they should get to that number pretty comfortably.
Okay. All right. Ark State.
Shouldn't score in the first half.
Before I give my pick, you talk about teams that should get up off the mat. Yep. Iowa minus 22. They're playing against Troy, who's terrible. Something to think about. Troy's team total in that is like 7.5.
Troy's quarterback got hurt last week too. I looked at that.
Goose Crowder?
Yeah. Goose Crowder got hurt. I looked at that Iowa game pretty hard.
We got like 45 seconds left, so here's my last pick. And this is a principal play.
Okay.
NC State minus 21 against Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech, Sonny Cumbie is running that program into the ground. They were in a dogfight against Nicholls State, who's not good. They only scored 15 points in the first half. It took 2 scores in the fourth quarter to win, 17-25. Not very good. We just believe on the general principle that NC State is a better team than that. You got any final words?
Nope. I think we got some winners this week. Dimes, I'll see you next week. I'll be doing the pod 45 minutes north of Colorado next week, so we'll have fun with that. But